Welcome to Capitalizing Your Life, the podcast that shows you how to take control of your money, build lasting wealth, and create financial freedom using the infinite banking concept. If you're ready to make your cash flow work for you instead of someone else, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Glenn Yaney.
Welcome to Capitalizing Your Life podcast. Today we're going to be talking about savings rates. I know it sounds like a boring subject, but it's actually the thing that I believe makes everyone financially independent that is financially independent, because you can make $1 million, but spend $1 million and you are not financially independent. So from what I have found for me is that I started putting away 10% of my pay, and I didn't know I was putting 10%. Just to be clear, I would say, okay, I'm going to put $1,000 away this month, and what happened is that 10% becomes 15%, that turns into 50%. And I think the way it really got me to put some fuel on the fire was I started buying cash flow assets. What I found later is that the infinite banking policies to actually be the foundation of my place where I hold my capital. So now what I do is I put all of my money into my infinite banking policy and later borrow from that policy to put it towards cash flowing assets. The reason why I bring up savings rate is that a lot of people talk about return on investment. And it's almost like with the return on investment, if you have a small amount saved, it's not going to get you the same amount as if you can save a lot more. So how do you get there? And I believe it's through really focusing on it for a little bit. I know today I don't look at my savings rate as much, but I do believe that the savings rate is how you get to financial freedom. So let's talk about a few ideas and the reason why savings rate is more important than the return on investment. So the first one is you control your savings rate, but you can't control ROI. With ROI, you have lots of outside factors. You have the Federal Reserve, you have just a typical market, like whether the real estate market's a buyer's market, a seller's market. You have the banks, obviously, that whether they're lending, what kind of rates they're offering. These are all things that factor into your actual return on investment. But with savings rate, if things start to happen, if you get a flat tire, that flat tire is not such a big deal if you're saving 50% of your pay. But if you're spending 100% of it, or say you are saving 10% of your pay, that flat tire is going to wipe out your savings for this month, So that's why the 10% savings has never been a winning deal. You just have to figure out a way to increase your savings to get over that 20%. And then with that 20% savings, you put it into cash flowing assets or yourself to earn more income. So the next subject would be you can't compound what you don't save. So with that, it would mean like today, like it's crazy when I think about the numbers that I invest today. Like if I'm putting $50,000 to $100,000 into a deal, that was something that I couldn't comprehend. Like it would take me my first year. I remember just really what I was, putting away like $5 to $10,000. I was putting away, actually, when I worked at Red Lobster, it was $50 every week. So $50 times, and then who knows if it happened every week, but I believe that I did it on the days that I had the most money, which is on Mondays, because I was working over the weekends. I had the most money on Monday, and I would just put that $50 into a savings account that I couldn't get access to. Today, that would be my infinite banking policy to be able to be out of sight. And when the time comes and that actual opportunity shows up, I can send an email to my agent and he's able to send me, the loan processing paperwork, and it's in my account within 2 to 3 days. Hey guys, if you'd like to learn more about the infinite banking concept and how to flow your capital through your own financing system, my team and I are here to help. With over 35 years of experience, we can guide you in building a properly structured whole life policy tailored to you and your family. See the scheduling link below. Now, back to the show. With savings rate creates freedom, I know that the other day I was listening to a group of friends talk a little bit about some issues they were having with just life stuff, which I understand, the flat tires, the spending a lot on a big event that just happened, somebody that went, they went to the hospital and it turned into $20,000 of expenses. Like these are expenses that come up for everybody. It's not like it's not going to happen. It's going to happen to everyone. So the key is that we always have this capital on the side. But when you have this capital on the side, it has less friction in your life of what you're your regular day-to-day life looks like. I don't have to think if I can go buy a coffee at Starbucks, or if I, like, say something comes up like a big expense, like a septic tank, that money is set aside to be able to take advantage of. But if I didn't have the savings rate and that septic tank came up, it would be like every dollar that I have coming to me that month would be going to that septic tank. So it's important to be able to capitalize your policy, but also keep it liquid. When it comes to, like, a lot of people say using other people's money, an example of that I hear a lot and I don't agree with is the car loan. Some people would be like, my capital is used better somewhere else. And I think to myself, where are you going to get a cash flowing asset that's going to give you, it might be an interest rate of 10% on your car loan right now. That's what the rates are, not 8 to 10%. But the cash flow on a $30,000 loan is probably would need to be 18% to pay for that car. So it's 18% to the banks that are actually getting their return, their revenue on their loan is about 18%. So we have to eliminate those expenses, for me at least. So what I do, instead of, say, if I do have a car loan, $30,000 loan, I'm going to pay the minimum payment. But what I do is I take all my extra payments that I'd like to put towards the car into my infinite banking policy until I have about $30,000 over my reserve. And I take that $30,000 and I would pay off the car. And now I have reclaimed the banking function in my life. That $30,000 loan is no longer going to the banks. It's actually going back to my policy, and I recapture the interest. So I'm able to capitalize on the next deal. So the more volume of interest that goes into my policy, the more opportunities I'll have in the future. So with savings rate builds optionality. So I know I've already kind of touched on this. This optionality would be, this month I might be, say, going on vacation. And if I go on vacation, it might cost $3,000 to $5,000 when I go on vacation. What does that do to me? So because I have cash flow and I have savings, it doesn't really do much to me. It turns into where I might not save any money this month, but the cash flow is paying for that vacation. And that's the benefit. So I no longer, like, if I go on a vacation, it's not that I'm thinking about, do I have enough money in my bank account? I think to myself, the cash flow that my savings is not going to be 50% this month. It's going to be probably zero. But at the same time, I'm getting the experiences in life. I'm able to go out on vacations, go places, and it really, there's no effect on my living situation. I don't have to really save any more or less. It's literally all of my savings generally goes into my policy. This month, it might go to a vacation. And then in return, I still have this big nest egg of cash that's in my policy waiting for opportunities, but my income is still covering those day-to-day expenses while I'm able to go do things if I have a good savings rate. So just to wrap it all up, I believe that you don't need Wall Street's permission to get wealthy. You need a system, a habit, a savings rate that feeds your banking system, that in return buys your cash flow in the future whenever you find those opportunities. I think saving it on a side account, it will grow. You will be able to find those opportunities that will create financial freedom and make it easier and easier every year to be able to save. And I believe that's the benefit of what the infinite banking concept has done for me, is that I've always put it to the side, and then when an opportunity shows up, I'm able to put more in. And like a $70,000 investment turns into, $700 a month. Now that new $700 a month payment, it doesn't change my life. It just increases my cash flow to create more liquidity in my life to build a longer term future. And with that, if any of you guys like what I've posted, please give me a thumbs up, like, share with somebody that you believe might benefit from this. Also, I have my infinite banking concept team that we have over 35 years of experience. These guys, it's really just two guys. It's Nick and Jim, and I work with them regularly. I talk to them 3 or 4 times a week, and we meet to help other people build out their best policy that suits them. And until next week, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Capitalizing Your Life podcast. Please rate, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with someone who you think would enjoy listening.